Hello my friends, it's Laura. Today's video is going to be an unhaul. I recently, yesterday, completely reorganized my bookshelves. If you're new here and you don't know, the shelves behind me are my TBR bookshelves, so all the books I need to read, but out in my living room I have my main bookshelves, and those are all, it's filled with books that I've already read and loved. I always organize alphabetically by author. I did at one point organize by color, and it looked beautiful, but I could not find books on it, and it got really frustrating for me, so I went back to alphabetical by author. Now I decided to organize, I don't know, by vibe. I did a couple of like standout author shelves. So I have a Sanderson shelf, I have a V. Schwab shelf. I did a shelf of like special sprayed edged editions turned the other way so you can see the sprayed edges. I like the way it turned out. It's a little bit chaotic, but it's organized chaos, if that makes sense. I know where everything is. I know the way I set it up, and I really like the way it looked. I had to stack a lot of things this time around because I am running out of space. Like, I am in desperate need of more bookshelf space. I don't know what I'm gonna do about that, but those are the Billy bookcases from IKEA, and I do have an extender on top of each shelf. I'm thinking of getting another extender to put on top of the extender. I found out that you can do that. So that might be something that I do to gain more space. It's only gonna be 3 more shelves, but it's still better than nothing. Anyway, while I was organizing my bookshelves, I found a ton of books that I thought it was just time to get rid of. My ultimate goal is to only keep books that I loved and rated highly, or know that I will reread or revisit at some point. So keeping that in mind, I got rid of, oh my gosh, I didn't count them, but I think there's gotta be like a good 30 or more books in this tote bag. So I have this tote bag full of books. That was really heavy. I should not have picked that up. That's just from reorganizing my bookshelf yesterday. But I also have this tote bag full of books. This has been sitting in my closet for a few months now because I did unhaul some books from my TBR and like never told you about it. And I did go into my used bookstore to sell some, but some of them they wouldn't take. And then some of these are ARCs that I'm gonna need to like donate or put in a little free library somewhere. So let's go through this tote bag first, and then I'll show you, we'll go through the other tote bag after. Let's get into it. Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. I've never read anything by Sally Rooney. Honestly, I'm just not interested in reading anything by Sally Rooney. So this made its way to my possession because I got sent some ARCs from my former boss, which was very kind of him to send me. But this is just not, I don't even know what this is about. I don't think that Sally Rooney books even have a plot, you know? Like, it's just about characters and character interactions. And honestly, I've never been interested in picking up a book by her, so I'm just getting rid of this. This is gonna have to go into a little free library somewhere. Another one that I randomly picked off of my red shelf, this was months ago though, is Furthermore by Tahara Mafi. This is a really cute, like Alice in Wonderland retelling, middle grade fantasy. I really enjoyed it when I read it. I know that there is a second book in the series, and I just was never interested in picking it up. I just kind of lost interest in continuing. But either way, I did really enjoy my time with it. I think I gave it like a 3 or 4 stars, so it's not a bad book. I'm not getting rid of it because of that. I just know that I'll never return to it. This one I'm gonna let my son see if he would be interested in reading it. If not, there is a little free library at his school for kids books, so I might just give it to him so he can pass it on that way. Okay, these should be familiar. I read these in April and just knew I wasn't interested in keeping them. So the first one is The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. This is another ARC that I got from work, so again, I'm gonna donate this one, but this was a YA horror that I thought was just fine. I think I gave it 3 stars. And then The Wolf of Oranyaro by K.S. Filioso, which I didn't enjoy. I gave it 2 stars. I'm not continuing on with the series. And then I have another advanced reader copy, and that is After Hours on Milagro Street by Angela M. Lopez. I read this, I thought it was fine. I gave it 3 stars. I would never go back and reread this. I think I read this in January or February, so I have talked about it in a wrap up, but it was trying to do too much. There were too many elements to it. Even though I would read more from this author, I'm not interested in revisiting this book, so that's gonna go. Some of these I've already talked about, but I just haven't had a chance to like get rid of them yet, and that's Clean Sweep by Alona Andrews. I tried to read the second book in the series and DNF'd it, so I'm just decided to get rid of the whole series. I still need to find a place to put this because I think I did bring it in to the used bookstore, but they wouldn't take it. Then I have The Infinity Courts by Akemi Don Bowman. This is one that I have not read. It had been sitting on my shelf. Well, actually for not that long. I think it had to have been like maybe a year or 2 ago that I picked this up, so it wasn't that long, but I just completely lost interest in this. I picked this up because at the time I had heard people talking about it and it sounded pretty interesting, and I saw it at the used bookstore for a really good price, and I had store credit. So like essentially it was free, and I just picked it up, but then very quickly after picking it up lost interest in reading it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of it because I'm gonna keep putting it off and putting it off, and then it's gonna sit on my shelf forever, and there's no point in that. I think I already mentioned that I was unhauling Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, the paperback, because I recently purchased hardcovers of the entire series, so I don't also need an annoying paperback that has that annoying step back cover where like the cover is not as long as the rest of the book. Why do they keep doing that? Like nobody likes that. Nobody likes it. Anyway, I'm getting rid of this. This one's probably gonna end up in a free little library because it's quite, I mean, it's not in bad shape, but the pages are yellowed, it's old, it's red. And then we have The Dead House by Dawn Kurtagich, which I read quite some time ago now, and I liked it, but I didn't love it. It's a YA horror. It's kind of like this mixed media format, which is interesting. So it has like transcripts of conversations and news articles and stuff like that. It was fun to read in that sense, but I don't know, something about the way mental health was handled in here kind of rubbed me the wrong way, so I didn't love this one. So that is the first bag. Oh wait, there's one more. There's one more. The 10th Girl by Sarah Faring. I actually really enjoyed this when I read it. It was, I think I gave it like 4 stars. It's a YA horror that has a very interesting like genre twist. And I was all for this story until we got to the twist, and I was like, huh. Okay, it kind of takes on a completely different tone. It started out all creepy and gothic and atmospheric, and then when that happened, it almost turned into a completely different story, which was fine. I liked what it did, but I didn't love it, and it's really not something I ever see myself rereading. So that's the first tote bag. So now we're gonna get into everything I decided to get rid of yesterday while reorganizing my shelves. Okay, let's start with a few graphic novels that I have here. I really don't have a large collection of graphic novels. I have not been reading graphic novels or comics as much as I used to, and even when I used to, I didn't read a lot of them. There were just some that I thought it was time to get rid of. The first one we have is Malika Warrior Queen Part 1 by Roye Akupe. This was absolutely great. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it like 3 or 4 stars. The art is really beautiful, but I never was interested enough to like continue on and read more or even ever revisit this, so I don't have a reason to keep it, so I'm getting rid of that. I'm also getting rid of Afar by Lila Del Duca and Kit Seaton. This is another absolutely stunning artwork. Like, it's just really, really beautiful art style, which I love. I can't even tell you what this was about. I don't remember. The nameless city meets Star Wars in this epic young adult fantasy adventure with the spirit and spunk of Delilah Dirk and the Turkish lieutenant. So yeah, I don't remember this story at all. I'm pretty sure I enjoyed it when I read it, but I remember nothing, and I'm really not interested in revisiting it, and I just need room on my shelf, okay? So it's going. And then we have Saga, Volume 1. This was the only volume of Saga that I ever bought, and I bought it because it was on sale. Saga was actually the graphic novel, or the comic, that got me into reading comics and graphic novels, because up until that point, I just wasn't interested. I didn't think it was for me. I was a bit of a snob. But after reading Saga, I ended up really enjoying comics and graphic novels. But I just have kind of lost interest in Saga, unfortunately. I know, like, the new volume came out, and with the way things ended, I thought I would like immediately run out and want to grab it, but I didn't. I haven't read it yet, and I really don't have an interest in reading it. So I think my time with Saga has come to an end, unfortunately. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of Volume 1. I only had Volume 1 anyway. So yeah. Okay, getting into the books. The first one I have is Dune by Frank Herbert. I read Dune, was it last year or the year before? Liked it. I liked the story. I hated the writing style. I really don't enjoy Frank Herbert's writing. I don't like that third-person omniscient narrative style where we're constantly like popping in and out of people's heads, and it was just, I didn't love it. I didn't love it. I never want to put myself through reading it again, and I really don't want to continue on in the series. And we have movies. I think if I want to enjoy the story, I'll just enjoy it that way, and I don't need to read the book or keep it. So this was a difficult decision. I couldn't decide whether or not I wanted to keep this and continue the series, or just go ahead and get rid of it, because it's been so long. But this is Lobizona by Romina Garber. I really enjoyed this when I read it. I'm pretty sure I gave it like 4 stars. I read it, oh my gosh, what was it, 2-3 years ago now? Dusty. It was a while, and I enjoyed it while I read it, but I have not thought about it since. I have not thought about it since at all. I can't remember the main character's name. I can't remember any character's name. What was the main character's name? Manuela. Okay. The second book, this is only a duology too. Like, the second book is already out. I had plenty of opportunity to pick it up. I knew about it, and I just never did. I never prioritized it. And I think when it comes to the amount of series that I am currently reading, in the middle of, about to start, I think if I'm not prioritizing something, then it just needs to go. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, I'm getting rid of this. It's such a beautiful edition. It's got these beautiful end pages. It is a beautiful naked hardcover, so I think someone will be very excited to find it at the used bookstore, but I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of it and just DNF the series as well. I don't have the interest anymore to go back to it. Okay, another graphic novel I forgot is Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. This is a graphic memoir that I thought was really well done. I enjoyed my time with it. I just don't see myself ever going back and revisiting this. I'm really glad that I read it and I got what I wanted to out of the story, and I thought I would just pass it along so that someone else can enjoy it. But this is definitely very great. It's Satrapi talking about growing up in Iran during the Islamic Revolution. So definitely a great read. I recommend it, but I don't see myself rereading anytime soon. I have a ton. I feel like most of what I'm unhauling is YA contemporary or YA romance that I'm not of the age to enjoy this particular genre anymore. I'm not. I think that these are so cute, and some of them are not romances. Some of them are just like contemporary. Some of them are hard-hitting. But I recommend these for sure. I just don't see myself ever revisiting them. So why have them take up space on my shelf? Do you know what I mean? So the first one is The Black Kids by Christina Hammonds Reed. I really enjoyed this one. This takes place in Los Angeles in 1992 during the LA riots, Rodney King. It was done really well and I enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure I gave it like 4 stars. I highly recommend it, but I don't see myself. Oh, I forgot it had a little card from the author. I don't see myself rereading this one. And then I have The Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. I adore Justin A. Reynolds. I really, like, as a human being, he is probably the sweetest, softest man that you will ever meet. Like, I love him, but I don't see myself revisiting this story, unfortunately. I like some of these authors I love so much, and I would really love to see them write in the adult space. I am just beyond the age of like seeking out YA contemporary. YA fantasy I still really enjoy, but the contemporary, the YA romance, not so much anymore. But this one was a really fun one. It has like this time travel element, and it was really sweet, and I enjoyed my time with it, so I recommend it. I have Dark and Deepest Red by Anna Marie McLemore. I really do enjoy Anna Marie McLemore. I have read a few of their books now. The Weight of Feathers is still my absolute favorite from them, but this one I didn't love. It wasn't bad. I think I gave it like 3 stars. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. So that can go ahead and go. And then I have You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson, which was another absolutely adorable YA romance. It's sapphic, and I thought it was adorable. So another one I recommend, but I probably won't ever reread. And then we have Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender, which is another one I really loved. I adore this cover. Like, it's just so beautiful, and honestly I wish that I could keep it just for the cover alone, but unfortunately I just don't have space on my shelf to keep beautiful books that I won't ever read again, and this is just one of those. I loved it. I might have given this 5 stars actually. I don't remember. Maybe it was like a 4.5 or something. But this is another queer YA romance slash coming of age type thing, and I had a great time with it. And I love this cover so much, but I'm not gonna keep it. I'm not gonna keep it. This book has been eluding every unhaul that I've done in the past like 2 years or more, and that is The Mountain Between Us by Charles Martin. I have this book because I used to run the book club back at my old bookstore that I used to work at. This was years ago, back in my hometown. This was one of the book club reads. I didn't expect to like it, but as the leader of the book club, I had to curate books that I thought would have much more wide appeal, as opposed to things that only I would like the niche things that I like. So that's why I ended up choosing this one, and I ended up loving it. I mean, I cried, I bawled, I laughed. I thought it was so good. This became a movie with Idris Elba that I don't think I've watched. Now that I think of it, maybe I should watch that at some point. But this is like a survival type story, if you don't know, but also a love story. Like, these two people, their plane crashes and they have to help each other survive during the winter on a mountain, and they fall in love with each other, and it's sweet, and I loved it. But I haven't reread it in all these years, and I really don't think that I ever will. So, okay, we've got Jacoby by William Ritter. This was really fun. I read this entire series. It's a 4-book series, kind of like this historical mystery, like think Sherlock Holmes, but paranormal, and that's what Jacoby is. And I really enjoyed my time with this book and with this series, but once again, it's not one that I really think about or ever think about rereading or revisiting. And if I do, I will just listen to the audiobooks, because the audiobooks are amazing, so I really don't need to keep the book. And then we have So Many Beginnings by Bethany C. Morrow, which was part of my failed experiment to read Little Women and then read a Little Women remix and have a blast, and I didn't have a blast at all. I definitely liked this more than Little Women though, so there's that. I gave it 3 stars. Wasn't bad, but I didn't love it, and I will never reread it. Then we have For Everyone by Jason Reynolds, which is a poem by Jason Reynolds, which is a really good poem, but it is not one that I think I need to revisit. I think that this would be great, like especially for its targeted audience, which is young adults. I think that this could be really impactful for someone of that age. So I will be passing it along. It was a beautiful poem, and I really did enjoy it. And then we have some more YA contemporary. So these are all from Sanjay Menon. I loved Sanjay Menon. back when I was reading YA contemporary regularly. So we have When Dimple Met Rishi, we have There's Something About Sweetie, and then we have From Twinkle with Love. And I loved all of these, particularly I think, oh my gosh, I don't remember. I'm pretty sure that There's Something About Sweetie and From Twinkle with Love were both 5-star reads for me. So these were great. I feel like her characters are so vivid and practical for their age, and the spines are so colorful and beautiful, but that doesn't matter. I need the space on my shelf, and I have never reread these and probably won't ever reread these. Like, I never get the desire to reread these, so there's really no reason for me to keep them, so I'm gonna go ahead and unhaul all 3 of these. Okay, another book that has eluded a lot of unhauls is Once and Future by Amy Rose Capetta and Corey McCarthy. I loved, okay, I remember reading this. I read this back in 2019. I read it almost immediately when it came out because it was one that I was anticipating. It's a King Arthur retelling, gender flipped, in space. Like, it's a sci-fi. It was so much fun. Like, I had so much fun reading this. I thought it was hilarious. Merlin is currently aging backwards, so he's a teenager now. And like, it was just fun. It was just silly and a good time, you know what I mean? And I've kept it for so long. Never was interested in continuing on with the series because I'm pretty sure there's like a second book, maybe even a third by this point, but I never wanted to continue. I'm like, I just enjoyed this in the moment and I just want to leave it at that. I'm kind of concerned that if I was ever to try to reread this, I wouldn't feel the same way about it. And then I have A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Very beautifully illustrated. I'm sure everyone knows about this book and how heavy it is. I remember shedding a few tears while reading this one. I thought it was really good. Besides what it's trying to do, which is really good, I didn't love the story itself, and so I think I ended up just giving it 3 stars, but I don't see a reason to keep this in my collection. Also, this was, like, it was a bargain book that I got from Books A Million, I think, and there's like tape holding it together. Like, I think this book just needs to be retired at this point. A couple of Octobers ago, I did a video where I reread the book that first scared me from my childhood, and it was The Dollhouse Murders by Betty Wren Wright. And I did enjoy reading it again. I remembered quite a bit about the story once I got into it, but I don't need this. I don't need this, and it's really not something that I would pass on to my kids because I really don't think that this holds up today. It was written back in the 80s, 1983, and it doesn't quite hold up today. So I wouldn't pass it on to them. I'm just gonna get rid of that one. And then we have The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton, which is another one I really enjoyed. It is beautifully written. It's magical realism, but there is some like heavy themes and topics in here, so I would check trigger warnings, but it is a beautiful book. I just, once again, don't see myself ever revisiting it, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass that along. Another book that just needs to be retired is I Am the Rage by Dr. Martina McGowan. This is amazing, not because it was bad, but just because the book itself is falling apart. The binding has completely come undone, so I think this is just gonna end up getting recycled, unfortunately. But this is a poetry collection about blackness and womanhood and motherhood, how all of those things intersect living in America. And some of these poems are just so hard, are so hard to read, but absolutely beautiful. I definitely recommend this. I don't see myself going back to it and revisiting it and like putting myself through the pain again. And then we have Revenge by Yoko Ogawa. I have really enjoyed what I've read from Yoko Ogawa before. This, however, was a collection of like horror short stories, 11 Dark Tales. They're very, you can see how short, how skinny this book is. So like the short stories are very short. And I enjoyed them okay, they were fine, but really nothing in here stuck out to me at all. So I really don't see the need to keep it. I'm gonna go ahead and pass that along. Finally, we are at the last 2 books that I am unhauling. So it is a series actually by Tochi Onyebuchi, which is Beasts Made of Night and Crown of Thunder. This is a duology by him. I read this so long ago. Like, I can't even remember when, but it was a while ago. I think I was still in California then. An African inspired fantasy where like your sins become or manifest themselves as tattoos on your body. I think that was the concept. Yeah, they create like tattoos on your body, and there's people who can extract the sin from your skin, but then they turn into these monstrous sin beasts, is what they call them. And then they have people who go out and slay the sin beasts, and that's where our main character came in. I really liked what this did. I just wish that it was told from a different perspective, because like I feel like our main character was so wishy-washy. Like he just let himself be led in so many different directions when there were just some amazingly beautiful, strong women in this narrative that I think we could have spent a lot more time with, in my opinion. And that is it. Quite a big stack. I'm getting rid of a lot of books. I've made a little bit of room. Even with all of those books, my shelves are still jam-packed, and I don't know what I'm gonna do come the end of the month, honestly. So that is what I'm getting rid of. Talk to me down in the comments, let me know your thoughts and opinions. Do you do regular unhauls? I would be curious to know. Or do you just keep everything that you've ever read? I don't think, does anyone do that? I don't think anyone really does that. I feel like for most of us, we don't have all the space in the world, and so we have to continually get rid of things to bring new things in. That's kind of where I'm at right now. But anyway, talk to me down in the comments. I love hearing from you. If you want to leave an emoji to let me know you were here, leave me like a coffee cup emoji or just any kind of drink, because I looked down and the first thing I saw was this. So that's the emoji of the video. But anyway, that is gonna be it from me today. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.